What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to predict Gameweek 25 in the Premier League, starting off with Leicester City against Brentford. Leicester City became just the second team in Premier League history to lose 5 consecutive home games without scoring a single goal. They've lost 9 out of their last 10 Premier League games. They are a mess. And it's Van Nistelrooy's own fault because he refuses to play his best player for Kunde Buonanotte. Hopefully the Leicester fans continue their protests at John Rudkin because he clearly needs to go. He is taking that club in the complete wrong direction. Brentford actually on really good form away from home now. They didn't win at all in the first half of the season away, but since the turn of the year, they've actually been quite good on the road and have won 3 consecutive away games. Now, this is a completely delusional prediction. I can't lie, I'm going to be honest with you, but I've gone 2-1 Leicester. Please, Van Nistelrooy, play Buonanotte and you will win. I promise. Everton against Manchester United. Now, Manchester United have won all of the last 5 meetings between the two, and Everton have not scored a single goal in the last 4. Now, one of Manchester United's 2 wins in the Premier League at home under Ruben Amorim came against Everton in a 4-0 win in his first ever home game in charge of the club. But Everton are in fantastic form. They won 4 out of their last 5 games. They look really good. Beto's in great form. Alcaraz has looked really good since signing. Man United have no threat whatsoever going forward. Diallo, who was the star of the show last time against them, is out injured. Xerxes did score 2 though, and I mean, he could be good, but I just feel like one of Branthwaite or Tarkowski, who were both horrible last time against Manchester United, will redeem himself and get the only goal of the game in a 1-0 win. Of course, it's David Moyes against his old club as well. This isn't going to be a high-scoring game at all. You know, both sides are good defensively, you don't score a lot, although Everton have definitely improved in that regard lately. It's not going to be a classic. London derby next, Arsenal-West Ham. Arsenal did win the last game against West Ham 5-2, and they've won the last 2 meetings by an aggregate of 11-2. However, their last home game against West Ham in the Premier League was a 2-0 loss last season. The Gunners are unbeaten at home in the Premier League. They remain the only side to be unbeaten at home. However, they have literally no strike force. Mourinho's probably going to start up front, and he's going to have to be as good as he was in his cameo against Leicester, against a much better defence, especially if Todibo is back. And he was on the bench last time. I'm assuming that he'll have trained this week. He should be in the back line, significantly better than Mavropanos. And West Ham will have a big threat up front with Bowen now fully back, with Ferguson settling in. Kudus is still a big issue because he is unbelievably talented, but he's looked so off it this season. And for that reason, I have gone with a 1-0 Arsenal win. With Liverpool slipping up lately, they have to take advantage of that, especially given the fact that Liverpool have Man City this week. And the cards have really not been kind to Arsenal this season. They've had so many bad decisions, they've had so many big injuries, but they can do this. It would be a 3rd consecutive London derby defeat in 3 weeks for West Ham, which would not be great, but they will be fine. They will win games. Bournemouth against Wolves. Wolves did actually play really well against Liverpool in their last game. Bournemouth have been impeccable, only 1 defeat in 15, and they were very unlucky against Liverpool in that defeat. They've won 10 of those games, including smashing up Newcastle and Nottingham Forest. Wolves won't be too big of a deal for them, I don't think. I think they'll win pretty comfortably. I've won 3-1. Although Wolves did look better going forward against Liverpool, they still did look a bit open defensively, and with how direct and quickly Bournemouth attack, there's so many players that could score. You know, Semenyo, Clive, Otara, all in fantastic form. Alex Scott is back as well, which is really exciting. Obviously, this was formerly known as a Gary O'Neill derby, but he has now been sacked by Wolves, so I don't even know if we can call it that anymore. And Wolves did win this fixture last season 2-1. Obviously, Bournemouth won the fixture early in the season when Clive got hat-trick penalties. That probably won't happen again, but Bournemouth will still win by 2 goals. Another London derby, Fulham against Crystal Palace. This is a tough one to predict because Fulham, I thought, were going to struggle against Nottingham Forest at home. Not struggle in terms of how they played, but they were going to struggle to score, and they won the game. Maybe they have now learned how to take their chances a bit better. Crystal Palace are unbeaten in their last 8 away Premier League games, which is a very good record, and they are quite good at hitting teams on the break in those tough away games. Mateta has been brilliant. Fulham won at Selhurst Park early in the season. I think this is going to be a 1-1 draw because Crystal Palace don't have the crippling injuries they had at that time. They are better away from home as well. This should actually be quite an entertaining game. Ipswich Town against Tottenham. Obviously, Ipswich shocked Tottenham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium earlier in the season. They've won their last 2 games as well without conceding. Although I still do not think Postecoglou is the man for the job. He's not good enough, and he's so tactically naive and just really bad. Spurs should be able to win this. If they are serious about moving up the table, potentially fighting for a European spot, they have to win. I've gone 3-2. I think it'll be a very high scoring game. I think Delap will have a good game, probably get 2 goals. But Tottenham, with Maddison back, like, do you know what I mean? If he starts, obviously, if he doesn't start, I'd actually back Ipswich to probably win. But Maddison is such a good player, man. When he's on it, he is so hard to stop. Obviously, Heung-min Son's been a bit of an issue. He's been horrible lately. And if he starts ahead of someone like Odegaard, Mikey Moore, even Brendan Johnson, who's now back, that would be a bit of an L. South Coast derby next, Southampton-Brighton. Southampton just lost at home in the South Coast derby against Bournemouth 3-1, and I think they're going to lose 3-1 to Brighton as well. The Seagulls in their last couple of games have sort of adopted a better philosophy. They're not so bothered about possession. They know how to manage games better. They're much better on the counter-attack. Minte's been fantastic. He scored 2 goals. Matoma scored a goal season contender. Southampton did actually take points off Brighton at the Amex earlier in the season. They're too far gone now, do you know what I mean? But even if they were to win, there'd be a minimum of 7 points off safety, and that's just too many in my opinion. Ultimately, this depends on Brighton. If they attack quickly, this Southampton defence is very easy to break down. If Jack Stevens' back is on, he's terrible, so that's a bonus for Brighton. Unfortunately for Brighton, Harwood Bellis isn't fit, otherwise that defence would just be cut open like nothing. Aston Villa against Chelsea. Villa performed valiantly against Liverpool in midweek. They were so unlucky not to win the game. However, usually Villa do sort of struggle after a midweek game, although that is usually in the Champions League. But Chelsea are on a horrible run of form. They've only won 2 out of their last 9 games. Although they did come to beat Villa earlier in the season when they were quite good. Now they don't even have a number 9. But Disasi, who was quite good against Liverpool, obviously can't play against his parent club, which could leave Villa in a bit of a sticky situation at the back. Hopefully Concert is fit. And the good thing about bringing in Marcus Rashford and Marco Asensio for Aston Villa is that they have players to rotate in. Marlon can come back in. Jacob Ramsey can come back in. It's beautiful. And I think they're going to win 2-1. I mentioned this in the last video, but Villa have only lost 1 home game in the Premier League this season. That was the first one against Arsenal. This is going to be a tight game. I just don't think Chelsea have a good enough manager in Maresca to manage games efficiently. He's so one-dimensional. You know what you're going to get with him. And once you figured him out, as everyone has now, he's not going to change anything, and Chelsea aren't going to get better results. Whereas Aston Villa have Unai Emery, who is a mastermind. Newcastle United against Nottingham Forest. Wow, this is a big game between two sides who are kind of struggling a little bit. They've both lost 2 in their last 3. Newcastle actually lost 3 out of their last 4 Premier League games. Forest did win this fixture last season with a Chris Wood hat-trick, but Newcastle won 3-1 at the City Ground earlier in the season. But the Geordies seem to be going through another phase like they did a couple of years ago before the Cup final, where they just kept not winning their Premier League games. And I think they will drop points here as well, but I've gone with the 2-2. It's a tough game to call, but Newcastle have lost their last 2 home games, which it isn't like them, but it is not good enough. I feel like Nottingham Forest football is more suited to away games, although they did lose to Fulham. Harvey Barnes is back though, which means I would give the edge to Newcastle because, being a former Leicester man, I'm sure he'd love to get the winner. And finally, Manchester City against Liverpool, a game in which you would often associate a title winner at the end of the season. Now, Liverpool will probably go on to be title winners, but Manchester City have really fallen off. But Manchester City could start a very unlikely comeback. I'm just saying, if there's one team you wouldn't put it past, it is Manchester City, especially when Liverpool are the team leading the table, because they are notorious spotless. Liverpool don't win at the Etihad. You know, they haven't won there in many years. They've only won at the Etihad 4 times in the Premier League. Liverpool have also been quite bad in their last 2 away games, but the last 3 games overall, they haven't been very good. And Manchester City did win the last home game 4-0 against Newcastle, but they were embarrassed in Spain by Real Madrid. If Pep Guardiola uses that same team and plays just with no creativity, with no balance, just stupid, Manchester City will lose. But if he uses his brain, if Haaland isn't fit, you can't play him, that's fine. But if Marmoush is playing up front, Doku's got to be on the left, and you have to have De Bruyne in the 10, Foden has to sit on the bench because he's shit. And if that happens, Manchester City will win this game. And I do think they're going to win this game 2-1. I feel like Arne Slot is starting to panic a little bit. Early in the season, he seemed to be much more composed and touched on. His substitutions were quite good. At half-time, he'd get into his lads and they'd come out second half playing much better. Whereas in the last few weeks, that hasn't been the case. The substitutions have been questionable. There's not really much improvement in games from Liverpool. And Manchester City have to win because they're now out of the Champions League. The FA Cup's the only realistic trophy they could win. But I mean, they need to get into the top 4, don't they? You can't have a team like that who just spent £200 million and need a big rebuild in the summer, not in the Champions League. Those are my predictions. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you soon.